Kurt in Los Angeles. Hey, Kurt, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Good.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Back at you.
Hey, I called to talk about New York to see if you had a chance to follow up on what went wrong with this voter purge. But real quick, I wanted to say something about what Kenyatta just did about the Larry Wilmore thing. I didn't see the Correspondents' dinner because I turned off cable about a year ago because of the lack of truth that I'm getting from my news programs. And I figured, what's the use of me paying $50 a month just to watch a bunch of propagandas it's turned into. So, yeah. But I'm shocked to hear that somebody of Larry Wilmore's status as a person of television say something like that and disgrace the office. So yeah. I too have a real disposition with people that use that terminology any type of way, even in private quarters or otherwise, because it's an ignorant word. Yeah. It's a scar on this history. It was derived during the time when people were whipped and chained and beaten and stolen from their country. And I just don't understand people that use that language. So
I think that Kurt, comedians, comedy, court jester comedy, and there's a difference between court jester comedy and clown comedy, right? Clown comedy is like, pratfalls, just doing insane, stupid stuff to make people laugh. Court jesters actually back 300, 400, 500 years ago in the old European courts, they were the only people who could say anything to the king and not be put to death for it. And the reason why the king had court jesters was to hear what the people were actually saying. And so out of that has come this modern idea of comedy as the thing, the court jester variety of comedy, which is what Larry Wilmore was doing, breaks barriers, crosses lines that normally are not crossed in polite society. And he did it over and over again, by the way, in the Correspondents' dinner. He trashed CNN. He trashed MSNBC. He basically ridiculed all the correspondents in the room. And he was not getting a lot of laughs from that, but he was telling truths. And so when I heard him use the N-word in reference to the president at the very end in a way that it looked to me like he was saying it benevolently, not harshly, but still, it was the N-word, and I was like, whoa. It occurred to me, okay, comedians break those barriers, but I don't think that a lot of Americans, and particularly a lot of African Americans, are going to take this well. But I just didn't know. I mean, here I am, a white guy, right? So, Kurt, your thoughts on that? I would love to hear them.
Well, actually, there's also, since the Elizabethan times when you had the court gesture and all that other kind of stuff, yeah. You've had a different kind of comedy come up since the ability for the African to speak without being whipped. After we came out of slavery, during the time of slavery, it was forbidden for an African or Negro to even speak to a white man. Okay. Right. Then, as we began to get our independence and become part of society, you had this thing called Amos and Andy and some of these other things where black folks were looked at as buffoonery. They put on blackface and ridiculed themselves. And so self-deprecation was one of the first things you saw in the early 20s, 30s, and 40s when you had Amos and Andy doing the buffoonery. Right. And then, then after they left the air, and a lot of ridicule came about to where Africans were given opportunity to become their own comedians. They still carried on that same buffoonery, thinking that that's what the people want to see. And so we've had this I don't know how the words for it. I'm not a scholar, but it's like a self-deprecating humor seems to be something that we've been unable to shape, because you don't see Jewish people calling themselves the kikes. You don't see Mencia or any other or George Lopez or any Spanish comedians calling themselves the wetback or the beaners. Well, I think maybe once in a while they may say it, but it's not as common.
Right.
You just don't see other minority groups using self-deprecating. Well, you see them use self-deprecating language, but there's no word in the history that applies to the Negro as that word, because it just has so many scars behind it. I mean, people died so that I wouldn't have to be called that, including Martin Luther King.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm with you.
A bullet to the chest. So it's like, you know, I just wish that word would just go away, because it just represents so many centuries of ignorance. Yeah. And so I'm sick of it. But that's not really what I called.
I think you said, I think you said really well what Kenyatta was saying as well. So I'm with you guys.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.